An isosceles right triangle has a hypotenuse of length 58 inches. What is the perimeter in inches of this triangle? Answer A, 29 square root of 2. Answer B, 58 square root of 2. Answer C, 58 plus 126 square root of 2. D, 58 plus 58 square root of 2. So we got these four possible answers, but only one, ladies and gentlemen, is correct. All right? So let's go for it. So now once we get this one, so the first thing we got to do is a right triangle, an isosceles right triangle. So let's just put it down together here, right? And see how it looks like. Okay? So we have this, so we have A, size B, size C, correct? And the C is the hypotenuse. We have the adjacent side, so we have the opposite side, okay? So we don't need to put them down here. So the other thing that we need is the 90 degrees, right? So the most important thing to keep in mind here is that when we talk about isosceles, so we're talking about A is equal to B, all right? Which is not equal to C, so C is definitely different, all right? So what else do we know? We know the hypotenuse length, which is what, 58 inches. So the first thing we got to do is when we're talking about right triangle is what? Is C squared equals to A squared plus B squared. I'm sure all of you guys remember that, right? So now what do we know? We know that these two sides are the same. So if they are the same, so we can definitely replace B squared by A squared. We can do that. So A squared plus A squared is going to give us what? It's going to give us 2A to the second power. Now we can solve for A. All right, so we can leave A by itself because we already know what C squared is because it's given to us 58 inches. So this one here, so we can divide the two side by 2 and 2. And then we end up with what? C squared over 2 is equal to A squared, right? So now the next thing that we can do is to solve for A, not A squared, correct? So A then is going to be what? So to do that, we need to take the square root, okay? So we got to take the square root of both sides. And once we do that, this one becomes plus minus square root of C squared over 2. All right, so now what we did is we took this problem here that we still have here. So we're taking square root of it because we're looking for A and not A squared, correct? So, and then whenever you do that, you got to write out the positive and the negative side of it, okay? So now A squared is going to give us, so it's going to give us A. That's the reason why we're doing it, which is equal to plus minus. So what can we do here? We can take C squared over square root of 2. So square root of C squared over square root of 2 because we can split it up. It's a fraction, and both of them are covered by the radical. So we are able to do that, okay? And then once we do that, what's happening here? So now, so one more thing that we can talk about here right now is because A is what? It's a dimension, okay? So it's a dimension. So what we can do, so it's not going to be a negative answer. For a dimension, a length, it's got to be positive, not negative. So that's the reason why we can keep this one as a positive, and then we can just remove the negative sign, right? So keep that in mind. And square root of C squared is what? Is C over square root of 2, and then this is a positive. No more negative. All right? Then what can we do? We have C, which is 58 inches, right? And then what else do we know? We know that square root of 2, we can do what with it because at the bottom of the radical or the fraction, we don't need it to be there. So we can do the conjugate of it, okay? So that means what? So that means we have A equals to 58 over square root of 2 times square root of 2 over 2. So that's how we do the conjugate. We take the bottom expression and then we make it as a fraction, okay? So once we do that, we continue here. So what's going to happen? 58, so A is going to be equal to 58, all right, times square root of 2. That will give us square root of 2 over square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is going to give us what? It's going to give us square root of 4. And then square root of 4 is 2, right? So it's square root of 4, I'm going to put it here, because of that, and that is equal to 2, right? So because of that, at the bottom here, we only have 2 left. What can we do here? We can simplify 58 and 2. We can do that, but we cannot do it with this one because this one carries the radical, all right? So A then equals to 58 divided by 2 is going to give us what? 29. So we end up with 29 square root of 2. That is A. Now, do not forget, what are we solving for? The perimeter. So we're solving for the perimeter. So the perimeter is equal to what? So the perimeter equals to A plus B plus C. All right? So that is equal to that. Now what is A? We know A is equal to 29 square root of 2. B is the same thing as A, so that will give you also 29 square root of 2. And then C, ladies and gentlemen, is 58. We good? And now we can do the calculations. Now we have twice this one. So that means we add in 29 and 29 and we carry the square root of 2. Now it acts like if as a variable. So if you have 29x plus 29x, that will give you what? 58x. Same thing we're going to do here. So 29 plus 29 is 58. And then the x in this case is square root of 2. And then plus 58 still. All right? So which one, can we add or subtract anything here? No. Can we simplify further? No, we don't need to. All right? So we got to look at the answer. So A, B, C, and D. So D 58 plus 58 square root of 2, which is this one, which is the same thing as this one. This is our final answer. So D is correct. D is our final answer, right? So now we took our time to do this step by step. Now, if you are on the test, SAT test, ladies and gentlemen, what you're basically doing is that you're going faster than this one by knowing some of these few things. But right now, we're taking our time to understand what's really happening, okay? And also, guys, do not forget about subscribing to our YouTube channel, Prof. Kamlavi Math for Fun. And also, once you subscribe, you like, share, comment, so that we can continue to grow. All right? Thank you.